Hello. So it is actually morning of day 6. I don't know. It's Friday. But I'm recording my video for yesterday because I forgot to record my vlog for yesterday. So here we are. I'm actually currently walking through the COP. So maybe I'll just show you around like that. I don't know. There's things and stuff everywhere. These are where the side panels happen. There's just a bunch of weird rooms in this big warehouse, and this one behind me to my left is a big one where really cool events happen. Yesterday was Youth Action Day, so the first thing we did was we went to the big booth that I was actually just showing you, that was on my left, the blue one. There was a kickoff for the Youth Action Day, and that was the first event that I went to, which was fun. It was very sweet. There's some country panels and the NDCs, which NDCs are nationally determined contributions. So those are sort of like what every country is deciding that they are going to do for climate change, sort of, and it has to do with the Paris Agreement. It's a whole thing. But yeah, so that was the booth for that right behind me. I walked around with Patrick and Elena because we were taking we were doing interviews with a bunch of students, and so after we did interviews, we went to just sit around, and I went and met Natalie, Sinyu, and Danny at the Korea Pavilion, and then we went and got food from another pavilion that was offering free food. And then we all went to the Green Zone, which was really fun. We met with some people who I'll figure out their name in the next video, but I have to go because I'm going to an event at Moana Blue Pacific Pavilion that Danny is leading, so I will see you guys in the next video. Hello!
Hello!
So we have been to the event at the Moana Blue Pacific booth, as you can tell by our wonderful flowers. Yeah, very nice.
That's how you know.
That's how you know. So, basically, yesterday, where was I? I was talking about how we went to the Green Zone. Do you remember the name of the organization that we sat with and played a game with?
Sustaining Life for All?
Yes.
Something like that.
Yeah, it was called Sustaining Life for All. So they have a booth in the Green Zone that's literally, it's like a table, and they just have like a flag thing next to the table. And so they...
And lots of pamphlets.
Yes. And they talk to everyone who passes by, and they're like, hi, we're trying to support activists and make sure that they don't go crazy because they're being activists all the time, which is necessary because we tried being activists at the beginning of the semester and we went crazy. So
also,
I think they're definitely necessary.
In many forms.
You're
That's
right.
one type of activism.
It is, yeah. So yes, they're very necessary and they're very wonderful. I really like them. But basically, we talked to a bunch of them for a while, and one lady, she graduated from UConn a while back. So,
as a fine arts major.
So that was really cool. We were there, we played a few games, and then after we played a few games, they were like, guys, let's do a workshop of what we do when we're being our professional selves. So they basically showed us what was it called? Counseling, co-counseling?
I don't know.
I think it was something like, yeah, we have pamphlets. It was, excuse me, something.
Counseling or something.
Yeah, I think it was called reevaluating co-counseling, but it was a lot about reflection. Basically, what happened was, say me and Natalie were a pair. We would be talking.
First, we went around and we talked about ourselves.
You're right.
And we just introduced ourselves.
Yeah, so we said our name, who we were, and our age. Or actually, we didn't really say anything about our background. We just said our name, our age, and then one thing that we were proud of in the past year, which was very nice. I enjoyed that. Some people had some pretty amazing stuff under their belt. That was very cool to hear about.
Yeah.
But yes, so we did that, and then we did the co-counseling thing. And say me and Natalie were partners. I would talk for 3 minutes, no interruptions by her, and then after I was done with my 3 minutes, we would switch, and Natalie would get her 3 minutes to just talk, and I would not be able to interrupt. So it's basically just a way to think through things, but out loud, which I think is pretty important and necessary and very good. So yeah, we did that. And then we wandered around Green Zone for a little while, and then we went back to the Blue Zone, and we went to an event or a side panel, which was, what was it on? It was on
Nature-based solutions to climate change in cities,
in
urban areas.
in an urban landscape, which was pretty cool. The guy that I thought was really interesting he was an architect, and so he was an architect, and he worked for this company called Helix, I think it's called, but they work on like green solutions, which is basically just like putting plants in urban areas in like fancy architect ways, which I thought was really cool because I enjoy the aesthetics of that, and I think it's very fun, and I think it's a really good way. The way that they were doing it was a good way of like bringing nature, or like non-human nature, into urban spaces. So an example of what they had was this like traveling green living room, they called it. So basically they had it on the back of a truck, and it was just like a room that was made with like plants as the walls, which was very fun.
It was like a little patio.
Yeah, and Natalie brought up a really good point when she asked him a question. What was your question?
So I asked about gentrification because they had a couple permanent installations, like a green wall and stuff like that. And normally when there's an improvement to existing infrastructure in a city, it drives up like rent prices and stuff like that, and the cost of living in the area, and then that leads to gentrification, so it drives out the poor residents who can't afford to live there anymore. And that's a big problem when you're trying to improve a city, like avoiding that concept. And he was like, and so their company mostly caters to like nicer areas and town squares, and they work with governments and businesses. So like fancy companies or governments who want something just like nice and like plant-like. Mm-hmm. So
I thought that was really cool. Did you find either of the other two really interesting?
Yeah. So I really liked the woman that spoke. She was a researcher at this. We don't fully understand the whole like situation because it was a lot of academia, but essentially she's in a research group that studies nature-based solutions to climate change adaptation, right? So like putting in like natural spaces in cities, one for adaptation and two for like resilience.
So how is that different from what the guy was doing?
So that guy was not. The title is as like nature-based solutions, but his was more of like a fun way of increasing quality of life of like just the general public, which is great, but it's not. I don't consider it a solution to climate change. Like I do think it's pushing for like normalization of plant walls and green infrastructure in the broad sense, which is functions as a carbon sink to an extent.
I think it also pushes people's like opinions of the earth and climate change. Like I think that it brings people, like gets people to be more connected to it. But definitely
it
not
wasn't
a solution.
Intentional.
Not
it wasn't
solution.
Permanent. This woman studied like it was research. So she said what works best, like what type of green infrastructure works best in the city. How can we solve like saltwater intrusion problems with plants? How do we create a seawall with plants? Like how do we integrate gray infrastructure, so like regular like concrete and stuff, with green infrastructure? It was a lot more intentional and strategic. So I thought it was really cool. We still don't quite know what they do, but they facilitate sort of those types of processes. So they had studies from like 8 different countries around cities around the world, like Taiwan and places like that.
So that was very cool, and that was the last thing we did at COP. We all left after that. Or did you?
I didn't leave after that.
Oh, what did you do?
So Mara, as usual, just meets people and then is able to talk to them. So she had a meeting. She was just gonna chat with this woman from the World Wildlife Fund, who works for the cities, like a cities initiative in World Wildlife Fund, which is really cool. That they've sort of expanded to not just animals, because they're sort of recognizing like people are the problem, like they're the reason why animals are dying. So why don't we have to focus on that? So Yeah, so we just sat by the Euroclima booth and we hung out, and like more and more people got pulled in because she just knew a lot of people that were walking by, and we met this big transportation guy. We met this woman who works for Tuskegee University in Boston on like bike unions. I found Sustain US. They're a group of Indigenous youth who were sent here, and they were very beautiful, and they had beautiful handmade dresses. So it was really great. We were here for like an hour or two afterwards.
Oh wow! I was expecting you guys to leave
and like
immediately.
half of us kind of wanted to go to bed and like go home, and the other half of us were like, we're so engaged.
Into it.
So yeah, but it was good.
Yeah. So when we got home, we basically ran around a little bit in the hotel, and I went to the Christmas market for a minute and got some cool stuff, and then us two and Mara and Sinyu went out to get dinner, and we got Chinese food.
Spanish Chinese food.
Yeah, Spanish Chinese food, and it was really good. It was very nice. Yeah. But yeah, it was very nice. And then after that, I went home. We tried to get into two separate churro places, but they were both closed, and it was so sad.
And
so
the
I didn't get my
lights were
churros
off
yesterday.
by then too.
But it's fine. So we went back to the hotel, and then I sort of just like got ready for bed and then went to sleep. So that was yesterday, and now it's today. So I guess I'll say goodbye for now, and then I will film another video later about what we're actually doing today at the COP.
Yay!
Woo! Okay, bye.